Good evening and welcome to the news. As usual, a Wednesday bulletin runs for an hour and a half with special focus on issues confronting Nigerians in different spheres of life. We will track unfolding events and keep a third eye on issues that remain relevant in the nation. Tonight, heavy rainfall recorded in parts of the country, the good and the bad. Rivers of intrigue, tenure expiration of local government chairmen, the politics and the rhetorics. On health, Yobe State battling with rising cases of kidney disease. What could be the cause? Also tonight, we'll provide updates on the 2 mining accidents in Niger and the collapsed building in Abakaliki, Ebonyi State. Our regular packages on security, the environment and sports are on the lineup. Justice Benny will be counting every penny on business news tonight. Let's talk in together. After all, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I'm NIMN John, and this is News Extra. Welcome. The 5th President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, has been sworn in for his 2nd term in office. President Bola Tinubu was one of the guests amongst heads of state and government who witnessed the inauguration of the 7th administration of the country. State House correspondent Musbao Dan Wahab reports.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, could we warmly welcome the President of Nigeria and current chairperson of ECOWAS, His Excellency Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Nigeria has been with South Africa since its apartheid era and still here with one of its long-standing allies. The leader of the largest African country was conspicuous on the roll call as South Africans once again returned to the union buildings where their topmost icon of democracy, Nelson Mandela, took oath of office 30 years ago to begin a democratic journey. The citizens were also joined by other heads of state and government as President Cyril Ramaphosa gets a 2nd chance to lead the country.
So help me God. The President of the Republic of South Africa.
But beyond the inauguration of a new administration, South Africans are equally celebrating 3 decades of their democratic journey, partnership and growth. Now returning to power on the heels of a political arrangement leading to a government of national unity, President Ramaphosa says this is only necessary toward a more effective governance as he promises to heal the divisions of the past and eradicate the inequalities of the present amongst his people.
The voters of South Africa did not give any single political party the full mandate to govern our country alone. They have directed us to work together to address their plight and realize their aspirations.
The re-elected president acknowledged the voices and messages of his people through the ballot and says their will be done through greater dedication to democratic renewal for better social and economic gains.
They have also been unequivocal in expressing their disappointment and disapproval of our performance in some of the areas in which we have failed them. We have heard you. As the President of the Republic of South Africa, I will work with everyone to reach out and work with every political party and sector that is willing to contribute to finding solutions to the challenges our country faces as we transition to a new decade of freedom.
And just like President Ramaphosa, the military displayed their might, rededicated themselves to protecting the nation and its democracy. And not only through the military might, but resilience of the people, the South Africans have seemingly resolved to harness their strength and build a more prosperous country.
Cultures of resilient warriors.
From Pretoria, Musbah and Wahab, NTA News.
And away from Cyril Ramaphosa's inauguration back home as part of efforts to implement the North-East Stabilization and Development Master Plan, Vice President Kashim Shettima has laid the foundation for the construction of the head office of the Commission in Maiduguri. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jabrila reports that the Vice President also performed the groundbreaking for the second phase of the 44.8-kilometer Jerry to Bowol Road network.
It is an 8-floor structure to provide adequate and conducive office spaces and other state-of-the-art facilities for smooth running of the North-East Development Commission. The office will continue to roll out demand-driven human capital development initiatives for short, medium and long-term socio-economic benefits of the region.
As we lay this foundation, we do so with a vision of a North-East that is vibrant, resilient and forward-looking. We do so imagining our contributions to building a nation where every child has access to quality education, where healthcare is accessible to all, where infrastructure supports thriving economies, and where peace and security are the bedrock of daily life.
And I want to urge each and every one of us to stand firm behind the NEDC and give it all the support it needs so that we will see to the completion of all the projects and ensure that our people benefit from the projects that NEDC is embarking upon and that will embark upon.
There is a compelling need for the Commission to be always in consultative concurrence with the 6 state governments of the sub-region, especially on its priorities and in respect of the areas that need their inputs.
Another milestone project inaugurated by Vice President Kashim Shettima as part of the interventions by the NEDC is agricultural intervention towards boosting food production, processing and food security. The distribution of the agricultural machineries, implements, inputs and other processing equipment is across all the 18 senatorial districts in the region.
Their output, which is expected to increase the value of farmers' hard work and provide opportunities for local processing of some commodities in the Northeast.
At end, there will be an interfacing committee between the state and the Commission for the equitable and effective distribution and monitoring of these items.
And I want to pray that from here, this foundation should be used to serve the purpose for which it is established.
Let us harness the power of collaboration, innovation, and inclusivity to build a future where every individual can thrive and contribute to the collective advancement of the zone.
The groundbreaking ceremony for the phase 2.
This is the groundbreaking of the phase 2 of the Jereb-Wall 44.88-kilometer road, which passes through the famous rice-producing communities of Galamari, Dusuman, Ungom to Zabarmari and Kadamari to improve production and free movement as well as to enhance security. From Maiduguri, Abdurrahman Jabrila, NTA News.
With the election of Dr. Christopher Waru, who is visually impaired, into the United Nations Committee on Rights of Persons with Disability, hope is rising towards adequate inclusion and participation of persons with special needs globally. Kenneth Nanim reports that the disability community in Nigeria rolled out the drums to receive one of their own who made the nation proud at the international front.
Committee on Rights of Persons with Disabilities is one of the 10 United Nations Human Rights Treaty bodies saddled with the responsibility of compliance with the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities amongst member states. Now, a distinguished Nigerian, Dr. Christopher Wanoro, having been nominated in 2022, was recently elected into the committee to serve for the period of 4 years. The feat achieved by a man who is visually impaired elicited this ambience of victory from the disability community of Nigeria as they roll out the drums to welcome and celebrate one of their own at the NIMN International Airport. Having attracted lots of investments into the country before now, Dr. Wanoro, an expert in disability matters, is optimistic that his role in the international body will ensure that physically challenged persons will be well mainstreamed in the scheme of things, both locally and globally.
My role is going to make sure that everybody who is challenging one or the other, who have human rights, their challenges, their problems will be handled rightly. And my role is going to be that humanity must have respect for persons with disabilities and the vulnerable in the society.
For more achievements in this light, his colleagues are craving for more inclusivity and support to persons with disabilities, especially at the global front.
Our expectation has been fulfilled for him to be there, and we have confidence in him that he's going to make our days better than it used to be before.
I am quite certain that Nigerians will not be lacking. And I want to believe that beyond just being a member, he is well qualified, and we're looking forward to having him as the president of that very committee.
The election of Dr. Wanoro into the United Nations Human Rights Body, the group says, has justified the saying that there is ability in disability. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
In other news, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMN, predicts that 13 states will experience heavy rain in the next coming days. NIMN, in a statement, says the affected states could experience flash floods on roads, bridges, and low-lying areas, which can disrupt vehicular traffic. The public is therefore advised to take necessary safety precautions and avoid walking through fast-flowing waters. The predicted states are Niger, Plateau, Benue, Kaduna, Taraba, Delta, and Imo. Others are Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Bayelsa, Ekiti, and Osun states. Moderate to heavy rainfall is also anticipated over parts of Zamfara, Kano, Borno, Gombe, Adamawa, Kogi, Kwara, Nasarawa, Ogun, Oyo, Ondo, Lagos, Edo, Enugu, Ebonyi, and Anambra states. This is linked to a Medin-Julian oscillation, which is expected to be strong within the week over the West African region. Now, there are high expectations and hopes from farmers every year for a bumper cropping season as the rain sets in. But what are the implications of consistent and high volume of rain during the planting season? In this report, Tessie Omeri tells us about it.
Rains are here again, and farmers are busy planting and, of course, clearing the fields in anticipation of a bumper harvest as they contribute in achieving food security in the country.
With excitement, this family and other farmers are busy clearing the land and planting crops.
To plant groundnuts and corn. As you see me here, I've not been farming. I'm a civil servant, but because of the challenges in Nigeria today, that is why I said, let me come and farm.
We are scared to come into the farm because of insecurity. We are not having security. So please, government will help us.
It will help resolve all this hardship.
Although Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMN, predicts that this year's rainy season, which starts late, will be brief. Hence the need for farmers to be aware of the weather pattern and maximize food production.
The growing season is going to be short in all parts of all the state of the country, with the exception of 3, that is Akwa Ibom, Rivers, and Cross River. That being the case, then it means you can say that out of the 37 states, which is 36 plus FCT, the prediction is showing that the length of the growing season is going to be shorter.
You have to study your environment. Is it a swampy area? You have to know. Is it a place where you can plant rice or cocoyam, sugarcane, plantain, bananas?
Those that are beside very close to river bank, they should be able to see how they can store water for irrigation, so that when the rain stops, they can now use the facility, they can now use the water to irrigate their farms.
While in most parts of the north, farmers are clearing their lands and planting crops, but adherence to weather advisory by farmers will go a long way to reduce losses and ensure bumper harvests.
In Abuja, Tessie Omeri, NTA News.
Let's take a look at the environment now, as flooding is a major challenge during the rainy season and several factors compound the situation. Diana Ajale in this report takes a look at how flooding is affecting communities and livelihoods in parts of Lagos.
The rainy season is one period many Lagos residents dread, particularly those in flood-prone areas. In Agungi and Ikate communities in Lekki area of the state, for instance, a combination of coastal flooding and flash flood is wreaking havoc.
Concern over the road. Everywhere is flooded. It messes up the car. It gets into our houses.
We are raking gutter, but the water is more than gutters now.
The water is like chemical. It chopped our keke. And the keke don't last more than a year here.
This road don't spoil my bike. Even my leg, if I show you my leg, this water don't spoil my leg, pata.
Maybe they should just add some drainage. Or they should just, this drainage is high, so they should dig into the drainage, so the pressure of the water can be passing through.
The challenge of flooding, residents say, is aggravated by a construction process that has caused blockages, hindering discharge of flood water when it rains.
When they have started the crossover, there is a canal. Now they have blocked that canal. This water cannot go anywhere. When you see between 3 days now, the water will turn to green.
Days now never open shop because of the little rain we for 3 days ago. Full everywhere, some shop. You can look this place now, they are blocking the shop because of the water entering the shop.
Although climate change is presenting extreme weather events, experts insist that perennial flooding in Agungi, Ikate and other parts of Lagos State can be mitigated through appropriate urban planning and effective flood control mechanisms. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
Meanwhile, predictions of NIMN regarding rainfall in parts of the country is already manifesting in Kogi State, and farmers are being encouraged to factor in these scientific advisory into their agricultural practices. Jonathan Amajali feeds us.
The rains are here again, and the rainy season is one of the dreaded seasons in Kogi State. Since the catastrophic flooding in 2012 and the one in 2022, there's hardly a year without flash flood in the state. This morning I was at Niwa dockyard to find out what the water level is, and from what they told me, the water level as of today is 3.68. About this time last year it was 4.52, so we have a difference of 0.84. What that tells us is that as by this time last year we had more rainfall than what we have at the moment. Of course, this is very disturbing for several farmers who have been complaining of irregular rainfall in the state. Prof, how do we explain what we are experiencing in the state at the moment?
Yes, what we are experiencing in the state at the moment is delayed rainfall. It is expected, consistent with the prediction of NIMN. Nowadays, we should begin to factor in NIMN's prediction in whatever we do, so that when we are planting, that will guide us. NIMN predicted earlier that the north central states will experience delay in the onset of rainfall. And so exactly what they predicted is what is happening now. So this should convince us that we should begin to go scientific in our agriculture rather than just the rudimentary type of agriculture we used to rely on. That's by this particular time of the year, there will be rainfall. And so even if it is just one rainfall that we get, we just begin to plant. No, we should factor in NIMN's prediction such that planting will come when rainfall has stabilized.
Many thanks, Jonathan, for that. Now, more than 6,000 square kilometers of land in Nigeria, findings reveal, are affected by erosion, and another 3,400 are highly exposed across Nigeria. This, no doubt, poses a severe problem for communities, and with the increasingly excruciating effects of this on the environment, those affected think it could consume an entire community if nothing is done. Charles Alpha reports.
Erosion, one of the surface processes that sculpt the Earth landscape, constitutes one of the global environmental problems man faces today.
See how the erosion has done to the houses around there. All the houses you are seeing, see, they are eroded by the gully erosion.
Like many countries around the world, Nigeria's soil erosion is perhaps one of the major causes of land degradation, which impacts on infrastructure and residential homes in most parts of the country.
It has caused economic displacement. People have lost their livelihoods or their access to ecosystem.
From the north to the south, east and west, nowhere is spared. Residents of communities where gully erosion is threatening their very existence are afraid that they may wake up one day and find out that their communities are completely eroded if nothing is done about it. Ibrahim Suleiman hails from Adamawa local government area. He tells me how his community is constantly being threatened by these menace.
Led to low yield, and also even road network has been cut off.
The Nigerian government, on its part, is not unmindful of these natural problems.
Land restoration, arresting desertification is a very key element for us to be able to deliver to ensure food security.
When we are dealing with issues of erosion, we have to be proactive and not responsive. The largest gully erosion in Nigeria is pegged at 66 meters deep, 2,900 meters long, and 349 meters wide. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Away from the environment now, looking at the effects, ECOWAS Commissioner for Human Development and Social Affairs, Professor Fatou Sosa, has presented 2 checks of $906,205 and that of $1 million to the Nigerian government through the Nigerian Red Cross Society and the World Food Programme. This donation of $1.9 million marks the launch of ECOWAS humanitarian support to Nigeria's Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. Let's take a look at other news now. As President Bola Tinubu extends his warm congratulations to the governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oborevwori, on his birthday. President Tinubu joins family, friends, and the people of Delta State to celebrate Governor Oborevwori on his special occasion. He commends the governor for his pursuit of development-focused governance, particularly his prioritization of education as a means of addressing fundamental societal challenges. The president wishes Governor Oborevwori good health and renewed strength to serve. Thank you for staying with us. Local government councils in Rivers State have remained calm and peaceful, but still under security surveillance, following the outcome of reactions to the tenure expiration of local government chairman and subsequent swearing in of transition committee chairman. Kingsley Amajiri, who visited some of the areas, brings us details.
Economic activities in the state capital have resumed after the two-day public holidays. The local government councils, which were centers of political activities the previous day, are now under lock and key. A security officer at Obiakpo Council headquarters told NTA News off camera that they are acting on instruction not to allow anyone into the council premises. At Port Harcourt City Council headquarters, the story is the same. Workers were equally not allowed access into the council headquarters. Meanwhile, supporters of the new caretaker committee members were waiting to receive the new leadership at Port Harcourt City Council.
We are actually to receive the new CTC committee that will hold brief while we expect the elections.
The security agencies are mounting surveillance at the two entrances to the council secretariat. Of course, this is intended to ensure law and order at the council secretariat here. We have also gone around parts of Port Harcourt. We witnessed that the atmosphere has remained calm. Of course, work also has resumed. The state secretariat official activities have also resumed. But here at the state high court, we saw that the gates were under lock and key. In effect, the city is still relatively calm. I'm Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
Kingsley for the update. Now, the All Progressives Congress APC is calling for the federal government's intervention in the state of affairs in Rivers State. Chairman, Caretaker Committee, APC, Chief Tony Okocha, made the call while briefing newsmen in Port Harcourt following the outcome of issues surrounding tenure expiration of local government chairmen, among other issues in Rivers State. Jenny Bassi has details.
Chief Tony Okocha, who condemned the current crisis in Rivers State arising from tenure of local government chairmen, said elections ought to have been held if the government had made resources available to enable the process. He said refusal to conduct local government election for alleged political tension did not help matters. Chief Okocha absolved APC members of any form of violence, saying they are not part of the crisis in the state.
We met with the commission, the chairman, and the issue of local government election was one of the issues we confronted the chairman with. And the chairman told us that he was ready, that they need the enablement.
On the issue of the former Minister of Transportation, Chibuike Amechi, saying 84% of Nigerians are not satisfied with President Bola Tinubu's administration, Chief Okocha distanced Rivers State APC from such comment.
Rivers people and Nigerians support Mr. President. We just rose from a meeting from the South leadership meeting in Calabar. This resonated, it was resounding. One of the resolutions of that meeting was to congratulate Mr. President for his performance so far in 1 year.
He appealed to residents and indigents of the state to remain peaceful while also calling for federal government intervention.
With Rivers State, the People's Democratic Party cautions the immediate past Rivers State local government chairman, whose tenure has expired, against any conduct capable of disrupting the peace of the state. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, in a statement issued in Abuja, notes that the 3 years tenure in office of the former Rivers State Local Government Executive Councils has expired by the effusion of time under the relevant state law establishing the Rivers State Local Government Council Administration. The PDP therefore counsels the former Rivers State Local Government Council chairman to desist from any action that may constitute disruption in local government administration in the state. It also calls on the people of Rivers State to remain calm, law-abiding, and continue to work together for the continued stability, peace, and delivery of dividends of democracy in Rivers State. Still talking politics, the governing All Progressives Congress, APCs, taking the nation's democracy through another round of political experiment after retaining power on May 29, 2023. In this special report, political correspondent Abubakar Akwanga will be examining some phases and developments that have changed the political landscape since 2014.
Turned elected.
The history began in 1998 by the last man to write his name in gold while in military uniform and to insist that leadership must be by the ballot and not by the use of gun. And that is the General Abdulsalami Abubakar transition program from military to civil rule.
I, Olusegun Obasanjo, do solemnly swear
16 years after an evolutionary democracy emerged, dwarfing the PDP-controlled platform that has dominated the nation's political space since the return of democracy in 1999. But the year 2015 was a game changer as major opposition parties regrouped and formed a merger to evict a landlord who still has a constitutional right to enjoy but ran him out of office through a massive vote count.
Buhari means a new Nigeria. Buhari means that he will run a government that respects every Nigerian.
It's about a decade of breaking the jinx, and the governing All Progressives Congress had produced 6 national chairmen, both on regular and interim basis, until the incumbent leadership of the Ganduje-led National Working Committee, who took charge of the party affairs in 2023, when his predecessor, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, took a bow.
Nigerians, first of all, knew that the democracy is improving, the electoral process was also improving. Otherwise, usually you see a very huge gap. But this time the contest was very fast. And at the end of the day, we had victory.
Our economy should be strengthened. Our governance system should be strengthened. The institutions should be strengthened and stronger than the individuals.
As a governing party, growing with democracy has remained non-negotiable, and these most times come with price that will either deepen unity or build resilience for confronting emerging challenges.
The ruling party has lost in many grounds and has also won in many grounds. And there were high-profile locations where the ruling party would have been very happy to continue to hold on to, where it is even an incumbent, where it lost grounds in those places. For the courts to look the ruling party in the eye and deliver a very fair judgment against it is a sign that the courts have come of age.
For those who are yet to come to terms with June 12 as Democracy Day, it is a day in history that resonates the credibility and authenticates the mandate of a man whose name remains bright on the marble, the MKO Abiola, and made possible by a leader who in history was the first to run the APC presidential mandate on the platform of the All Progressives Congress, the PMB, as it were, the slogan. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Tinubu's presidency is deploying high-profile economic strategies to put the nation on a path of sustainable growth and development. Chairman, Progressive Governors Forum and Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, was speaking during a world-class media session with practicing journalists in Owerri, the Imo State capital. Correspondent Abubakar Akwanga again reports.
And wish those who did not win this time.
No doubt that the current economic realities are brewing temporal hardship, which the current administration under the Tinubu's presidency is prompting a permanent relief. This the chairman, Progressive Governors Forum and Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, says top-notch politicians, regardless of party divide, should acknowledge and endorse the present reforms.
I think those are the things that we have to enlighten our people. We have to let our people know the advantages that will come as a result of some of these policies. I'm a member of APC, or Progressive Congress. I have the interests of my people at heart. The governor of Imo State, I've engaged one-on-one with the president. I've interviewed him, and I've seen his vision And for me, this man has a vision that will recover the economy of the country. And that is why I'm supporting these programs.
Hope Uzodinma lost the courageous steps taken to fix the economy, and of particular mention is the removal of fuel subsidy, which it says drains the country of huge finances and deprives majority of the available scarce resources.
All the three presidential front runners in the country, in their manifestos and campaign promises, clearly stated that if they win, they will remove fuel subsidy because it became a cancer to our economy. The day President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn in his maiden speech, he announced the removal of petroleum subsidy. It is a decision that government after government were not able to take. The consequence of that is that this temporary hardship, the temporary hardship that has to come with the cost and struggle to recalibrate the economy of the country. And that is why government is providing some palliative measures to cushion the effect.
Hope Uzodinma urged Nigerians to be patient and rally around the renewed hope agenda of President Tinubu, which holds long-term impact for the present and future generations. Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Let's talk business now. The businessman is here. Benny, what's the latest?
Thank you, Yeri. So much in the world of business. I'll start by telling you that the African Organization for Standardization says it is creating a continent where goods and services meet international standards, boosting trade and economic growth, as well as consumer confidence. To this end, Nigeria is hosting conversations to educate entrepreneurs, policymakers, and consumers about benefits of a single standard, with emphasis on the effective implementation of 2,490 harmonized standards for the continental market.
Facilitate trade and serves as the bedrock of moving towards a more resilient and sustainable development.
We can nurture a generation of Africans who are not only fit for the 21st century, but are also those that transcend borders and promote standards across the continent.
We should think about the standard when we are registering that business, when we are starting that business. That's educating Africa fit for 21st century.
Politically, we are free. Economically, we are still in slavery. The time to use standards, trade, business, and wealth creation to liberate the continent is now. And I charge all of you to rise to the challenge. Thank you.
From the Bahamas comes the cheering news that the Nigerian government, through the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Anite, signed a $3.5 million agreement with Trade Invest Nigeria as well as the Afri-Exim Bank at the ongoing 31st Afri-Exim Bank annual meeting in Nassau, Bahamas. The minister says the collaboration with Afri-Exim Bank, which is worth $3.5 billion, is set to transform Nigeria's industrial landscape, create jobs, and drive sustainable economic growth, with emphasis on statewide investment vehicles as well as projects, attracting more investments to states, fostering regional development, in addition to revamping the textile and apparel industry. She added that in partnership with Arise Integrated Industrial Platforms, more financing will go to capital expenditure, the CNG value chain, as well as the automotive sector, all aimed at creating jobs for the Nigerian youth. And a quick look at the markets. The investors lost 47.62 billion naira as the all-share index depreciated by 0.08% to close at 99,840.95 basis points. A total of 1.383 billion naira in 9,899 deals, corresponding to a market value of 16.4 billion naira, were traded. Today's data shows 335% improvement in volume, 233% improvement in turnover, and 36% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization is 56.4 trillion naira. On the aggregate, 130 equities participated in trading, ending with 40 gainers and 18 losers. Fidelity Bank recorded the highest volume of 1.05 billion traded shares, followed by ICO Insurance, Veritas Capital Insurance, as well as the United Bank for Africa. Well, that is business news. Here, more on News Extra.
Well, thanks, Benny. Now, let me tell you that the Nigeria Customs Service has recorded a 74% growth in revenue generation that amounts to 4.49 trillion naira in the last 12 months. Comptroller General of the service, Adewale Adeniyi, disclosed this while giving an update on the activities of the service in the period under review, emphasizing that the magic wand remains painstaking implementation of outlined policy thrust. Kunle Adeyeye has all the details.
It's time for retrospection in the last 1 year, and first is the amount generated. Nigeria's chief custodian of borders announced that the 4.49 trillion naira generated represents a remarkable 74% growth in revenue collection over the past year. Further breakdown shows 343 billion naira was the monthly revenue collection.
There was a substantial 122.35% increase in revenue collection during the first quarter of 2024 compared to the same period in previous years. These gains were attributed to a number of strategic initiatives. The revenue review performance recovery exercise that we spoke about earlier, which generated over 15 billion naira into the national treasury. The second was the 2.79 billion naira recovered from the 90-day window concession given for importers of uncustomed vehicles.
As regards trade facilitation, the Comptroller General pinpointed the congestion of ports and the reopening of previously inaccessible roads as the major drivers. As expected, he pledged that officers and men of the service will remain uncompromising in the fight against the #1 enemy of trade facilitation, which is smuggling. Kunle Adeyeye, NTA News.
Sensitizing Nigerians on the importance of a well-harmonized intellectual property structure to enable creatives to tap into the benefits of their endeavor will form part of the focal points at the forthcoming annual 3-day conference by the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria. Amaka O reports that the president of the professional body, Edorenye Enang, says the forthcoming event aims at fostering growth and excellence in the marketing landscape.
This year's conference is very unique.
The forthcoming National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria conference is set to bring the institute to the global stage and equip participants with the latest trends and innovations in the marketing space.
This is a strategic build from a standpoint where we are bringing local content and bringing to the fore the need for intellectual property. Countries that have grown, for you to attain global success, your IP levels must be huge, and we must be able to recognize it. And that's why we have all the stuff around content creation and people being able to see and know that whatever I make or do stays with me, trademarking and all of that.
Council members intimate the media on expectations, which consist the annual general meeting, marketing conference, investiture and induction of new members into the institute, and paper presentation from reputable erudite scholars.
This year's theme that NIMN is rolling out for the year 2024 is tagged Empowering Nigerian Brands, Leveraging Local Content for Global Success. This is a very powerful theme that comes at this very crucial time that is required within the Nigerian market space.
It also provides a platform to bridge the gap between the academia and marketing professionals in Nigeria, as well as add to the body of knowledge. The leadership of the institute also appealed to Nigerians to support the present administration through good conduct and being responsible citizens. In Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News.
Away from the Center of Excellence, the Pride of the Sahel is our next stop, and renewed efforts are ongoing in Yobe State to tackle the scourge of kidney disease, which is becoming a major health challenge in the northern part of the country. Over 1,000 new cases are recorded annually, even as government resorts to free dialysis to relieve poor households of the burden of care. Hamisu Rogo reports that hardly would you find one family in northern Yobe without a case of kidney disease.
The air conditioners are in full blast in this research laboratory, but this young researcher is far from being in a cooling mode. The matter on ground can only produce heat waves for him and all healthcare providers in his native Yobe. There is literally a medical emergency in Yobe State. Its northern window, otherwise identified as Yobe North, grapples with scourge of kidney disease on a large scale. It is a long-standing medical issue that defies intelligent explanation. Again, there is not family in this entity who have not experienced one of their member or two having a kidney disease. There are no absence of efforts from the state government and major interest groups to understand the root cause of the issue and tackle it head-on. Every day, 60 kidney disease patients undergo pre-dialysis at Yobe State University Teaching Hospital and more centers around the state at the expense of the state government, and a patient requires the dialysis twice a week. This figure does not include those who seek remedy on their own. This kidney disease patient shares his experience.
God is our witness. Without this dialysis, most of us will die. Every round of dialysis is 35,000 naira.
Yobe North is the most agriculturally fertile region of Yobe State. Livestock powerhouse, perhaps the highest density of livestock among regions going down northeast. Research activities question its rich water bodies and fertile soil as complicit in the kidney disease scourge. No conclusions are reached yet. To advance research and find answers to several conjectures, the state government put up a high-end laboratory in place to get to the root of the kidney disease endemic, as well as state-of-the-art equipment. Researchers from all over the world are also mobilized to support research.
If you can be able to decode all these causes of kidney disease from across northern Yobe, that means it's a plus to the state government because it's going to get us rid of one of the greatest challenges that we have. So if you can be able to send to achieve this, then it is one of the mightiest achievements that the state has been battling with.
Well, one of the major issues this center is looking at is senility. Now, obviously, when senility is not very much common here, and we don't hear too much talking about it in our health cycles, it's amazing that this clinic is talking about it. Why not?
Well, it's talking about because it is a global issue. But actually, when you say it's not here, part of the awareness is also not there. The facility to detect and tell that it's here. We cannot say clearly that it is not here.
As we move out of this center, one of its major promises is that it may eventually find a bipartisan solution to the scourge of kidney diseases that are besetting most part of the state. In Yobe State, Mohammed Hamisu Rogo, NTA News.
Many thanks, Hamisu, for that report. Now, joining us for more on the health situation in Yobe State is the Chief Medical Director, Yobe State University Teaching Hospital, Dr. Waru Gooni. Many thanks, Doctor, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, watching that report and listening to Hamisu, of course, there's a reason to worry. But could you give us how serious is it, talking about the scourge of kidney disease in Yobe State?
Okay, as Hamisu has rightly said, this condition is very common in the northern parts of the state, particularly, in communities along the fringes of the river Yobe, which is one of the tributaries of the Lake Chad. Spanning all the way from Jigawa to Yobe, across Waru, and then draining into the Lake Chad. We found out anecdotally initially that a lot of people were coming from that community with, chronic kidney failure. And this entails why the state government has instituted, a free dialysis services at the Yobe State University Teaching Hospital, which has been serving people freely since 2017, that almost for the past 7 years. And recently, the state government has increased the standing payment for the pre-dialysis service by 100% because of the, inflationary trend in the country. And two, I went along with the state governor to the United Kingdom last year, in the last quarter of last year, in form of an MOU to collaborate with researchers, especially at the University College London and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, in order to get to the root cause of this problem. We have already gathered a preliminary data, especially looking at people that attend hemodialysis from various communities in the States. And, we use hemodialysis as a surrogate to chronic kidney failure, because kidney failure, by the time it becomes manifest, almost 80–90% of the kidney is gone. So a lot of people can move on with impaired kidney, the smoldering the background without them coming to the hospital. So unless you do a community-based survey, you may not be able to know what percentage. But from the hemodialysis, we got that about 30 to 50% of people in certain communities out of 100,000 are now on hemodialysis. So this tells you that there are hotspots within the region that is in question. And our next phase is to go for a population-based survey now.
Now, Dr. Gooni,
yes,
from what you've gathered in terms of intelligence and data, could you give us some of the causes that you have figured out, has been responsible?
The commonest cause of chronic kidney failure worldwide are usually three, like hypertension, diabetes, or chronic glomerulonephritis, that is inflammation of the kidney due to infections. Apart from that, we also have other conditions. Some are hereditary, some could be, especially later in years, obstructive neuropathy, and so on and so forth. But in our own case, we found out that a substantial proportion of these patients that are relatively young, in their 40s usually, the average, or the mean age we found was around 40 to 45, usually didn't have those conditions. So, there are a lot of unknowns. So that's why we need to go for a population-based survey, which the state government is already working on approval in collaboration with our colleagues from the United Kingdom and the International Society of Nephrology, so that we'll be able to get to the root cause of this problem. There are some, preliminary data. Okay.
All right, Dr. Gooni, because of time. Because of time, that's a bit clear now. But could you tell us, because we had Habits talk about free dialysis, and then we can see the center right there. Outside that, what is the government doing to tackle this scourge, and what would be your advice to UB residents at this time?
Okay, at the moment there are a lot of health education that is going on. The government has also sent a delegation to the Arab Republic of Egypt, to a urology and nephrology center in Mansoura. One of the centers that started kidney transplant about 50 years ago, the first of its kind in the Africa and the Middle East, so that we collaborate to see how renal transplant is done, because dialysis itself is just a temporary measure. It's a bridge to transfer. So we have gone there. We are almost going into collaboration. They come to train our doctors and so on, in collaboration with other centers within the country, so that people with end-stage kidney disease will also have transplant services at a very, very subsidized rate. Next is the research we're talking about, so that we'll get to the root cause of the problem, looking at the people in the community, the soil, the water, and so on, so that it may be environmental toxins that are causing this thing. When you get to the root cause of the problem, you'll be able to now offer solutions to prevent people who have not been affected by the conditions, so that you prevent them from becoming victims of chronic kidney.
All right. Many thanks, Dr. Gooni, for joining us on News Extra tonight. We hope that, this is handled as fast as possible. Thank you so much.
No, the pleasure is mine. Thank you.
All right. So we'll take a break. Stay with us. Thank you for remaining tuned. Detecting sickle cell carriers from infancy has been pointed to as a strategic quest in dealing with disease burden as countries unite to mark the 2024 World Sickle Cell Day. Oluseye Adeagbo in this report examines progress in Nigeria's sickle cell disease management, challenges carriers face, and recommendations for its possible elimination in the country.
They are often referred to as warriors in Nigeria for waging war with this health challenge to survive. Carriers of sickle cell disease, SCD, who have adhered strictly to medical counsel, have proved that the condition isn't a death sentence.
But at our clinic, we have warriors who are above 55. We have some who are close to 60.
There are likely symptoms mothers should look out for, and Iyobosa Juliet Arono, a research nurse, highlights some of them.
There is something they call the spleen in the parts of the body, the left parts. So when it is enlarged, it is swollen, they can feel it as they are bathing the baby. It is directly below the rib. You see the child starts crying, the hands are swollen, the legs are swollen. It's called hands and foot syndrome.
Olariwaju Salau and Blessing Ibedium are both 35 years. They share with me some of the challenges.
I don't normally hide that I'm a sickle cell patient, so I always tell them my checkup days. In some schools, the owner of the schools might say, okay, you can go. Some will say, no, now only you know they sick, and when you are sick for some few days, they'll be telling you you're the one bringing down the school.
Well, growing up, we didn't have...
Salau, now a father of two, revealed a sharp contrast between growing up when access to qualified medical personnel was limited and the present.
We have people, doctors now, that actually know exactly what they're doing. They can really know how to treat you better. And then the advancement in the drug area, when we have other drugs now that you can use, like hydroxyurea, which has been helpful in
Since 2009, June 19 every year is now dedicated as a day to identify with these warriors. Experts now call for more sensitization to tame its spread. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
From health-related issues, Nigeria's former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, has applauded the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, for its efforts at driving national unity and cohesion since its establishment in 1963. The former Nigerian leader made the commendation when he received a delegation of the institute led by the president and chairman of council, Dr. Ike Neliaku Haman Jabani, who was part of the team, reports.
The Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, is consulting with prominent Nigerians to rewrite the narrative of the country. It is in the light of this that the institute, led by its president, Dr. Ike Neliaku, visited Nigeria's former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, and Senator Nicholas to seek their support and partnership. General Yakubu Gowon appreciated the effort of the institute in ensuring that people believe in Nigeria and desire a nation where everyone will work together, as exemplified by NIPR and its members.
Well done for the sort of thing that you've been doing and the groups that you met in order to make sure that everybody keep the country together. I can assure you, sometimes I get so worried when you hear divergent views.
In the same vein, Senator Nicholas expressed satisfaction with the quality of current leadership of the institute since inauguration in August 2023.
Life is for the living. What you're doing has given us opportunity to, breathe out.
The NIPR president speaks more on the visits.
It is time to design a new narrative for Nigeria, to raise the consciousness of leaders that they need to work with public relations tools to help them to accomplish results.
It is believed that the Institute's forthcoming Diamond Anniversary schedule to hold on 27 June will be a platform to celebrate outstanding Nigerians who have contributed immensely to the success story of the country. Haman Jabani, NTA News.
Let's talk security now. High alerts. That's the watchword of the Nigerian Air Force, where at the headquarters, the Chief of the Air Staff has convened a strategic session with branch chiefs to review efforts at tackling the twin challenges of regional and internal threats. The Defense correspondent, Najatu Tijani, reports.
It's back to business for these officers and gentlemen. While the nation was on Salah break, the select few worked tirelessly to defend the nation. Now, they have gathered to review the NAF's performance within 1 year, including recent happenings during the festive period.
Now, looking at the West African sub-region, citing the failure of ECOWAS to address jihadist violence in their countries, The military junta have turned to Russia for security assistance. Additionally, the withdrawals of United Nations troops from the United Nations multidimensional mission in Mali, 2,000 Chadian troops from Mali and Niger Republic from the multinational joint task force could aggravate the security challenges in the Sahel region.
The Air Chief says these acts by neighbors made it expedient to devise new methods of tackling any impending threats. Internally, the NAF says security threats aggravated by the current economic situation in the country have been dealt with decisively, adding that in the last 12 months it has adopted new air power measures leading to the elimination of notorious terrorist groups, the recent being the incident at Gidankari village in Katsina.
We have taken various immediate actions and proactive steps to reorganize the Nigerian Air Force to effectively achieve its mission and meet national security imperatives.
While commending the branch chiefs and AOCs for being proactive, the Air Chief's instructions are clear. Remain on high alert and continue to monitor the situation as Nigeria's safety is of paramount importance. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
Let's turn our attention to the police force now, as the Joint Union Congress of the Police Service Commission says the allegation of fraud leveled against the commission by the Nigeria Police Force in the recruitment exercise requires forensic audit. The union, at a media briefing in Abuja, reiterates their commitment to the due process and assures that they do not take the allegations lightly because they are fully conscious of its implications. Francis Fom reports.
This is not the best of times for the Police Service Commission and the Nigeria Police Force. The 2022 recruitment of constables into the force is said to be responsible for this frosty relationship. The recruitment process, which started in 2023 for 2022 fiscal year, began with the Constitution of Recruitment Board. Barely after a year, the list of successful candidates were shortlisted after the whole process. But this is not without the police reactions of alleged irregularities and corruption, an allegation which the Joint Union of the Police Service Commission rejects and calls for forensic audit of the list.
This will help to ascertain the veracity of the allegation and determine where the truth lies. It is important to note, however, that the Police Service Commission does not answer to queries from the Nigerian Police Force, and based on its constitutional and statutory mandate, we insist that the proposed forensic review must be carried out by an appropriate and independent authority with proven expertise in forensic investigation and data analysis.
The union also based the Commission's decision to recruit on the Supreme Court judgment, empowering it to exercise a search.
The selection process was conducted using comprehensive criteria, including computer-based tests, gender inclusivity and sensitivity, and the federal character. These measures were put in place to ensure a fair, inclusive, and merit-based recruitment process.
The Joint Union Congress says it remains committed to defending the integrity of the Police Service Commission and ensuring that the recruitment process is always conducted in a manner that is fair, transparent, in accordance with established guidelines. Francis from NTA News.
More commercial. Thank you for staying with us. Owing to the strategic intervention mechanisms introduced towards clearing the backlogs of the National Driver's License by the Corps Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, Shehu Mohammed, the National Driver's License print firm has produced 73,740 licenses in 2 weeks. This is coming after a visit by the Corps Marshal to the print firm and other infrastructures of the Corps to have an on-the-spot assessment of glitches causing delay in production of the National Driver's License in the country. He, however, directs 24 hours production and immediate rectification of the identified technical glitches that affected the overall production capacity of the firm, resulting to the recent development. The court-martial calls on applicants, especially those who have experienced delay, to await notification or contact their state licensing officers for pickup of the already produced ones. In other news, in support of efforts to build friendly societies where the aged could be protected and provided for, an Elder Justice Charter, a plan of action has been presented to the public to build a youth support network for the older population in Nigeria. Elizabeth Omori reports that the document is expected to bridge the gap between the youths and senior citizens.
Aging as a process in life is getting better, with several initiatives by the federal government. One of the latest efforts is youth engagement, and the National Senior Citizen Center is championing the cause.
They are vulnerable people. They are not as strong as they used to be. So we have to care for them. We need to be there for them.
Aside youth engagement, the Elderly Justice Charter and Plan of Action, Director General NSCC says, will aid establishment of a framework to drive attitudinal change and promote an inclusive society.
Engage in data production and partnerships with states and local governments to domesticate the National Senior Citizen Center Act and cascade programs that we have developed to the remotest area so that older persons can benefit and their quality of life improved.
If Greenleaf looks down and see dry one, he will be cautioned that one day I will be like this.
Whatever it will take us to ensure that our older persons are treated, given that respect they desire, to live a dignified and fulfilled life, we will continue to do it.
Our children must understand the importance of completing each stage of life.
Poverty, neglect, financial instability, and poor health care, they identify as issues needing attention by families and government to make life comfortable for the elderly. The youth are expected to plug into the Justice Charter to stop elder abuse. Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Another break is due. Stay with us.
Of the summer.
The newly inaugurated president of South Africa has hailed what he called the beginning of a new era as it took the oath of office after his party, African National Congress, struck a hard-won government coalition deal to remain in power. Comfort Fashion has more on this and other events on the global scene.
African heads of state and dignitaries gathered outside the union buildings in Pretoria, seat of the South African government, to witness the inauguration. Leaders from various countries came together to show their support for the newly re-elected leader. The oath of office was administered by Chief Justice Raymond Zondo.
Devote myself to the well-being of the Republic and all its people. So help me God.
President Ramaphosa pledged that his new multi-party government would work to improve basic living conditions for all citizens. And in North Korea, President Putin and North Korean leader signed a strategic partnership treaty on military cooperation and defense following their talks in Pyongyang on Wednesday. President Putin's visit was the first in 24 years. And elsewhere, a deadly fire erupted at a huge military ammunition depot in Guji, Chad, the country's main arsenal in the north of N'Djamena, causing weapons to fire out into the air. Reports say the cause of the fire is not yet known, and the president has promised an investigation. Mr. Kulamala, the foreign minister and government spokesman, urged the public to remain calm after the explosion. Meanwhile, President Itno Deby has offered his condolences to the families of the victims. Comfort Fashion, NTA News.
Thanks, Comfort. Now back home, sadly, President Bola Tinubu extends heartfelt condolences to the Asholio people in southern Kaduna State on the passing of His Highness Dr. Tagwai Sambo, the Chief of Morua. The late traditional ruler was on the throne for 58 years and regarded as one of the longest reigning traditional rulers in northern Nigeria. He played a pivotal role in the establishment of Kaduna State University, serving as its pioneer chancellor. In a condolence message, President Tinubu pays tribute to a lifetime of selfless service dedicated to education, peace building, and community development. He prays for the repose of the soul of the departed and comfort for the family and those whose lives the royal father touched. And that concludes News Extra tonight. Many thanks for investing your time with us. Do have a good night.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
It's going well, but here comes Okabari and Jet Okabari. Takes it, tucks it, buries it!
From the football prowess of Kano Umakwo to the track dominance of Blessing Okabari, Nigerian athletes continue to excel. Chioma Ajunwa, the first Nigerian woman to win an Olympic gold medal.
Applying the pressure from the rest and trying to come back, and Amuzan taking it. Amuzan, well, getting consolation there.
This is the most outstanding, the best woman football player on the African continent. Asisat Oshuala.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
This is the network service of the NTA.